Well, welcome and thank you we see some returning members coming back here. My name is Leigh Kallestad. My colleague is Giovanna Cruz. Today's session is getting started with Smart Music. So just a little bit about my background is I'm a saxophone performer and then did teach concert band, jazz, and choir for many years and joined Make Music in 2003.
Yes, my name is Giovanna Cruz, and I am a cellist, so I'm Leigh's strings counterpart at Make Music. I taught orchestra in the Austin Independent School District for about 7 years before joining Make Music about 4 years ago and doing the same things that Leigh does. Yes, so we want to start with a little poll that should show up on your screen where we're basically asking if you're currently using Smart Music and which version you might be using, classic or new. So if you could quickly answer that poll, you'll give us an idea. So it looks like 50% of you have started taking the poll, and give you a couple more seconds here. Almost everyone is done answering the questions. And okay, so it looks like about 56% of the people present today have not yet started using Smart Music, and then about 11% are using new, and about 22% are using classic. Okay, so that's great information to have. Thank you so much for answering that poll. I'm going to close it now. So Leigh?
Well, on this next thing, instead of going right into the details of setting up, we thought it might be good just to share an example of how this teacher is using Smart Music, because of course you can do it as assignments, but there's there's a lot of great ways to use Smart Music in the classroom, whether you're band, choir, or strings. So this is a real short video. It's posted on YouTube, but let's listen to some ideas that Dan has about using Smart Music.
The way that we use Smart Music now, I do a lot with it in class, and then I also do a lot of assessment with it. So when we use it in class, I usually just pick one random part to put on the screen. Sometimes it's one that we're working specifically on that rhythm, and sometimes we're just using it for the big picture of the part. As we just got done performing at a regional festival, and so as we were starting to look at some of the bigger picture, then I'd set it to run from the beginning of the piece to letter A. And we'd go and we'd listen to it, and we always do it 3 times. The name of the game is always like, how do you have meaningful repetition, make them do it 50 times and never make it feel stale. And so the first time I tell them just put their instruments across their lap, listen to the big picture of what's going on, especially because we've been working on these pieces for so long. Sometimes you get that tunnel vision of, what's the second alto doing right here? So I tell them just set them down, listen to the big picture. And then the second time, that's when I say, okay, pick those instruments up and then do air and fingers, but never lose track of where the melody's playing. And then the third time, we play along with the recording. And I always tell them, picture, like close your eyes. Sometimes if they have it memorized, close your eyes, picture yourself in this ensemble and see how you can get your sound to match that band sound. And then we take the recording out and then they play with that huge full sound, and a lot of times they surprise themselves. They'll kind of put the instruments down afterward and just like they have that smile where, they know they did well, I know they did well, and we just kind of have that moment of this is how we use it and this is what we use it for.
So Giovanna's going to take us now through setting up our class.
Yes, so this part starts assuming that either you or your administrator has purchased Smart Music and they have created an account and you've been invited as a teacher. If you have questions about how that preliminary part takes place, we can certainly answer those. But what I'm going to show you is the process of getting connected as a teacher. So you're going to be asked to join an organization, and that means that you will receive an email. And your email will say either to connect as a Smart Music Teach Free educator, that's if you're doing a trial, for example, or if you have already purchased the platform, then it'll say to connect as a Teach educator. So you will want to click on that orange link to get connected, and that'll take you to your web browser, which should be Chrome, and it'll take you through the process of account creation. So the first step is asserting that you are older than 13, and then scrolling down our terms of service so that you can accept them. And then there's a few more screens where basically you create your account, enter first and last name, create a username and a password, and then you can either leave the box checked where you're opting into our communications, or you can uncheck that. Then the next screen is what you see at the top of this slide, where you have an opportunity to set up a backup email. That's a page in and of itself. You can add your home email if you want, or just leave that empty. That's just an option. The next screen, which is what you're seeing at the bottom of this slide, will ask if you have a preferred instrument. And so again, select your instrument, and then you will always move forward by clicking on the blue arrows at the top right corner of the web page. The next screen will be, again, what's at the top of what you see on your screen right now. It's going to ask for your time zone, and this is so that SmartMusic can compute the scores of the assignments and calculate your gradebook and submission times and all of that correctly, depending on where you are in the United States. And so once you have set up your time zone and you click that blue arrow, the next thing you'll receive is what you're seeing at the bottom of this slide, saying, congratulations, your account was created successfully. So it's a pretty easy and guided process through account creation, and in just a few steps, you're ready to go. So then the first thing that you are probably going to want to do after that is just to create some classes, and that will allow all the functionality to open up and display on your home page. So to create a class, once you're in, and let me just go back a couple of slides. So in this slide, at the end of your account creation process, where you see the orange and the purple and the dark gray, where it says congratulations, your account was created successfully, at the bottom of that screen it says take me there now. So if you click on that, you're going to come to this page, and so on the admin side, which is where the top arrow is pointing to, you're going to click on classes, which is where the other arrow is pointing to, and then in there you're going to see this is the place where you manage your classes, and there's two buttons. You have an option to create either a teach class if you're a paid customer, or a teach free class. And if you're just doing a trial, then you can create a teach free class, meaning that you will have access to the free content only. So you're going to want to click on one of those two buttons, and then the process of creating a class is also very easy. All you have to do is assign a name to that class, write down the display name, your display name as a teacher. Then there's a field that says last day to join, and that's optional. And then on the right side, all those fields are grayed out. That's your email address and your name and educator. Then at the bottom left of the screen, it'll say class type, and this is where you select. If you are only doing a trial and you only have teach free access, the teach access will be grayed out, and you'll only be able to create a teach free class. Again, that means that you and your students will only have access to the free content. If you're a paid customer and you select teach, that means you will have access to the entire catalog of content, and then you will be able to access that to assign to students. So you'll click create, and that'll bring you to your class page, and your class page will look like what you see on screen minus the two students, right? Because those are already enrolled. So the next logical step will be to enroll some students, right? Now, my recommendation would be to enroll your students while they're with you in the classroom. That way you can walk them through the process and ensure that they have actually enrolled by the time that the bell rings and you send them out. When I was teaching the first year or the first couple years, I would, and this was with Classic SmartMusic at the time when the software came in CDs, I would pass the CDs out and tell the students to go do it at home, and then class would end and I would see several CDs on the floor of the classroom. And so we certainly don't want that to happen to you. You have the advantage that there's nothing to pass out, right? Because this is on the web. But by the second or third year, I figured out that it was better if I took the students to the computer lab and I did it with them. So that would be my suggestion. And if you're in a school where students have one-to-one Chromebooks, definitely have them open them up in class with you, walk them through the process, make sure that they are all doing it with you right there. So that being said, we're again on your class screen. And what you're seeing is that that big arrow is pointing to a code. So that code is a unique identifier for your class, right? You're going to take that code and copy it and share it with the students. You can share it in a number of different ways. You can post it on your class website if you have one. You can email it to the students. You can send them a text. You can copy it on your whiteboard and tell the students this is the code you're going to use. We wanted to make it easy for you. So if you decide that you want to use an email template, we have created one for you. Okay, so one of the options on this menu to the right of that orange arrow, it'll say copy class code, and then to the right of that, it'll say use email template. That email template is what you see on this screen. SmartMusic won't send the email directly from within SmartMusic. You just have to copy this, paste it in your email client, and send that out, and the instructions are there for the students to enroll. If you're doing this in the classroom, there's no need to use the email template. Just tell your students then to open up their web browser and go to admin.smartmusic.com/join, okay? And they're going to see a web page that looks like what's on your screen. And there, they're going to enter their email address in the top box, and then that unique class code down below, and click continue. It's going to get a confirmation message. Basically, it says you're about to join the beginner band class, in this case, at the Make Music demo, which is our platform. It would say the name of your school, for example, with X teacher. And then if that's correct, you'll say confirm and join the class. When you do this for the first time, okay, students will not have accounts, so they'll also have to create accounts, and they go through a process similar to the one you went through before, where they have to accept the terms of service, create an account, set up a backup email just in case. And by the way, here's a tip that we have learned from some educators, because we all know that students are going to forget their password to their email, or they're going to forget their login credentials. We have heard that many educators ask students to put the educator email here as the backup. That way, if they forget their SmartMusic login credentials, they can click the forget password and have it sent to the teacher email address, and then that way help the student log in. That's just a suggestion, but we've heard that some people do that. So continuing down the account creation path, a student would select their primary instrument and a secondary one if they play a secondary instrument. And then a time zone again, just so that their submissions are calculated at the right time, and their due dates make sense. And then that's that. After that quick process, their account's been created. Now an email is sent to the student's email address, and they have to confirm their account by clicking on the link in there. Now, if you're dealing with younger students, especially if they are in middle school, for example, or if you're using with elementary school students, they may forget to go check their email to activate this, and then you would feel like you're hanging in there waiting for the students to complete the process so that you can use SmartMusic. Well, fret no more, because you can actually log into your teacher account, and under the class page, there will be a list that says active students or removed, and then there's a link for pending. I don't know if you can see it in there on the screen. It's marked in orange, one of the arrows pointing at it, and there's a little red notification bubble. If you click on pending, you're going to see the list of students whose account confirmation has been is pending. So there's a button that says approve, and you can approve them, and then they can log in, and they're ready to go. So once their accounts have been confirmed, then they can just simply go to home.smartmusic.com and log in, and their student homepage will look like what you see on screen. One more thing that you're probably going to want to do before you start scheduling classes is making sure that you have set up your grading calendar and your grading scale and all of those administrative details so that your workbook, your gradebook, excuse me, works correctly. So once you've done the class setup and the student enrollment, every time you click on SmartMusic on the top left corner of your screen, you're going to get to your home page, which is what you see on screen right now. Notice that that orange bar that we had seen before, it's no longer there. This is sort of the academic side of SmartMusic. So to edit those details of your class, you're going to want to scroll down to where it says Class and Student Management, and then you're going to want to hover with your mouse on the screen, and you're going to get two little buttons. You're going to click on Tools, and that's going to bring you to this page where you set up your grading scale. Then below you can set up your grading calendar. You can pin a method book to the class and it will show up on the student side so that they can very easily access all the lines from that method book. And then you can also have the option of setting up some badges just for rewards when students have been diligent about their practice. So you can set up a badge that they can earn if they've been disciplined, if they've discovered some content, meaning they've opened it on their own outside of assignments that you have scheduled. And then another one for consistency. And you have the flexibility to set up how many times or how many minutes over a certain period of time, which could be days, weeks, or months. So that's very easily how you can get started with creating classes, enrolling students, and editing those classes. Now, after you have explored some content and looked at pieces that you may want to work on with your students, or you've found your method book, you probably want to start scheduling some assignments so that students can begin to use all the practice tools available in SmartMusic. So I'm going to show you a little video here that demonstrates very quickly that process of scheduling assignments. Okay, so from the home page, you would go down to the right and click on method books, for example. And then you would see a list with all the method books that are available. And you can use the filters to find the one you're looking for. For example, here I am looking for sound innovations, and I'm using the filters by instrument to find the string method books. So once you find the method book that you're looking for, you can open it to see all the different exercise lines on screen or demonstrate them in class, explain concepts and all of that, and also to assign, or you can assign the lines directly. So in this particular case, we're just skipping opening the music, and we're going directly to scheduling. And you saw we can type some instructions, then we get to see the music on screen. We can set up parameters such as tempo and sight reading and location. And coming up in the next release or two, you'll be also able to determine whether the students play with accompaniment or not, and whether my part is on or off, and the metronome and all of that. And so once you've set it up the way you want it, you get to decide how you want to grade it. And so the default criteria is the assessment grade, and then you can create as many others as you want. Then you save your assignment, and you can schedule it right away, or you can do it later, because every assignment that you create is now a template that you can reuse. And when you're scheduling it, you can send it to all the students or some students. You can allow late submissions. You can allow students who enroll later to receive your assignments. And that's basically how it works. Very quickly, that's the process of assigning lines from method books. So I think Leigh is now going to show.
Well, I think before we run that large group assignment video, I just want to regroup with everybody and make sure that that you can send in a chat question. We're going through quite a lot of details, and if you're like me, there's might be a little stress, wondering if you had to remember every single thing you saw. But everything that Giovanna has been showing, coincidentally, is in our help menu. We're going to show you where those are step by step. So this is kind of an overview to know what it's doing and a little more description. But if you didn't remember every single step, don't worry, that's all coming up. So let's just maybe invite you one more time to throw a question in, and do that to Giovanna Cruz. That's one of the options there in that chat window. And then we'll collect any questions, and after a couple more minutes here, we'll see if we can answer those. So this is what Giovanna showed was basically a method book assignment where you are deciding all the details. However, we have 5,200 large group titles that already have predefined assignments for every single part. So this is, if you're using a large group, you have a really great shortcut if you choose to use it. So I believe I have a voiceover on this one, so I'll mute myself and let's see what this video does. In this video clip, we're going to schedule a predefined assignment. To do that, I can choose band and orchestra, choir, the jazz band titles. Any large group title has predefined assignments. I'll choose band and orchestra, and in there I will look for a composer. In this case, Robert Sheldon and Appalachian Morning. Instead of opening the piece, I'll click Assign. I have three options: Assignment 1, perform the entire piece, or Custom Assignment. I'll choose Assignment 1. Notice that now I have specific assignments for every single part. If I like these assignments, I'll just continue. I do have an option to edit the parameters as well. So I'm going to continue with the predefined assignments as is. In this screen, my criteria rubrics are all set for me. I'll use the assessment rubric, which is my red and green note technical score, put in my points, assign now, choose my date for the assignment to go out, my due date, any options with all students or some students, and that assignment is done.
We do have a couple of questions. Someone asked, are students able to access SmartMusic before a teacher account is active? So at this point, the answer is no. The only way for students to access SmartMusic is because a teacher has given them a class code and they've become part of that class. At a later point, students will be able to buy into SmartMusic on their own. Another question is, does SmartMusic follow soloist tempo as an accompaniment? And the answer of that one is also no in the web-based SmartMusic. So the tempo is the tempo that exists. But that's not to say that you can't change the tempo. So you can use the metronome tool in SmartMusic to play something at a slower or a faster tempo. It's just they won't adjust as the soloist changes their speed as they go. I think there may be another question coming in. Are the grades calculated immediately? Yes, the grades are calculated immediately. So typically there is about a 5-minute delay in the time that it takes from when you schedule the assignment to the point when the assignment gets to the student. I don't know if you saw in the video, the scheduling, you have date that it'll be scheduled and then time when it will be scheduled. So that the default time is 5 minutes from the current time, but you can change it. So if you want the assignments to go to students immediately, you can change that 5-minute time frame and make it, you know, in 1 minute from now, so that you can finish your scheduling, click the button, and then it goes out right away. The grades are calculated immediately, and they come into your gradebook right away. Sometimes it takes a few minutes, though, to upgrade all the calculations in our servers for all the grades for gradebooks. So if it's not in there right away, wait about 5 minutes, and then it should be there. And if it's not, then contact us, okay? Let's see, are those all the questions for now? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so then I believe the next thing that we were going to share was how to submit assignments. So this video is going to show a student logging in, as you can see, and then seeing that they have an assignment that is pending. It's a line, it's that line from the method book that you saw in the previous video. So they get to select their instrument part, and then the music displays on screen with instructions. They can read them and check them, and then they can adjust the volume of the accompaniment. When it's time to record, they press that red button and start the recording. And as you can see, the feedback is immediate, and it's not just visual, it's also oral. They can listen to themselves. So after a student listens to themselves, and they can do this multiple times until they're satisfied with their takes, okay? When they're happy with the recording, then they can submit the take that they feel the best about. And they can also send a note to the teacher if they've practiced for a long period of time, and for example, there's something that can't quite get right, or they see, you know, a note that wasn't given the right feedback, or that wasn't caught by the microphone, or that kind of thing. So I think that that addresses a little bit a question that I have here that says, can students resubmit material if they're unhappy with their performance? So yes, they absolutely can. What I will say is that when they're practicing, they should really listen to the recordings that they're making, so that they are not just going off of that visual feedback, but they're also being critical about their own performance, and then submit whatever they're the happiest with. Once they've submitted, though, they can't resubmit unless you reassign. But you as a teacher have the ability to reassign work as many times as you want. And you always get to keep the previous takes, so that if I reassign something today and the student resubmits it tomorrow, I can see the submission, the first submission, and then the second submission, and any subsequent one if I reassign multiple times. Before I move on to the grading, here's another question. Once a class is created and students are accepted, can they access an entire method book, whether a specific line or exercise is assigned? So that's a great question. We have 3 levels of student access to our content, okay? Our basic level includes, I'm talking about paid access, right? Because there's free access where they can only access the free materials. But once they've paid, there's 3 different levels. Our basic level of access includes all the method books, not just the one that you made the assignments from, but all the method books. It includes any of the free exercises that we have in there, and includes anything that you upload via Music XML. Then there's the standard level of access, where students can, again, they have access to all the method books, and in addition to that, they have access to anything that you assign in the solo and the ensemble category. And then lastly, there's the premium level of access, where students can pretty much access all the repertoire regardless of assignments. Okay, so they can go in and explore everything and anything. So I think that probably answers that question. If you have any other questions, please keep chatting them in, and we will answer them either as we go or towards the end.
What Giovanna showed was basically a method book assignment where you are deciding all the details. However, we have 5,200 large group titles that already have predefined assignments for every single part. So this is, if you're using a large group, you have a really great shortcut if you choose to use it. So I believe I have a voiceover on this one, so I'll mute myself and let's see what this video does. In this video clip, we're going to schedule a predefined assignment. To do that, I can choose band and orchestra, choir, the jazz band titles. Any large group title has predefined assignments. I'll choose band and orchestra, and in there, I will look for a composer. In this case, Robert Sheldon and Appalachian Morning. Instead of opening the piece, I'll click Assign. I have three options: Assignment 1, perform the entire piece, or Custom Assignment. I'll choose Assignment 1. Notice that now I have specific assignments for every single part. If I like these assignments, I'll just continue. I do have an option to edit the parameters as well. So I'm going to continue with the predefined assignments as is. In this screen, my criteria rubrics are all set for me. I'll use the assessment rubric, which is my red and green note technical score, put in my points, assign now, choose my date for the assignment to go out, my due date, any options with all students or some students, and that assignment is done.
So here's a teacher logging in to check out and listen and grade to a student assignment. You can hover over the assignment, click the grade button, the submission is going to open up, and you're going to see the music on screen, be able to listen to the submission. And so based on what you listen to, you can assign a grade. In this particular case, the assessment grade came in automatically because it was based on the red and green notes, and then there was a criteria for tone. And then the teacher can write in a comment in response to the comment that the student added when they submitted their performance. You can validate that grade then, and then it shows up on your grade book. But I don't know if you noticed, because it perhaps went a little bit quickly, that there was a button that said reassign. So when something is not up to the level where you want it to be, you can click on that button and reassign the work. Are there any questions about this process? Okay, seems like there are no questions.
So Giovanna's just gone through a lot of details about the technical setting up, and really when you do them one chunk at a time and you're on our website following the directions, they're all very easy to do. I'm just going to ask you to step back a couple of steps for a second, and I know that as veteran educators, these are things we all know, but what we've seen going around the country is that sometimes this communication piece gets lost a little bit because people are worried about getting set up with the details. So here's just a couple of examples of maybe doing that communication. The first is Sister Gail Buckman in St. Louis. By her own admission, she was the least techie person going into SmartMusic, but she persisted and it worked out great. And she's been using it now for several years. But she would always do a parents' night and show what was going on with the software, explain things to the parents, and then the reaction she got from the parents was like, well, who wouldn't want to do this? It's really fun. And so she just made a big deal about right at the beginning, making sure all the parents knew what adventure they were in for. And she'd be one to tell you that if she can do this and do the tech and talk to the parents, anybody can do that. But that was just to someone on the beginning end, having that parent communication to get started. This next one is more as you're working of what to tell the students. And Don Long in Missouri, Independence, Missouri, he really was great about telling the students, what kind of assignments are going to be required, how are they graded, what kind of feedback will they be getting to the parents and students, and then how did students and parents know what's going on and what kind of equipment do you need. And he just laid it all out there very clearly, answered all questions, had great communication, telling the parents what the details were. On the next one, I experienced this with my own teaching and my parent group, where I thought and the school thought that we were really communicating with parents. So Martha, she just retired from teaching, but she had just been doing a lot of work with this. And I like the statement that she shared with us that as a year-end activity, the teachers rated themselves 7 out of 10 on their communication with parents, but those parents only rated the teachers 3 out of 10. And I had a similar experience with my band parents group and my teachers at school. We thought we were really communicating. So don't believe it. Ask the parents and make sure you just over communicate. And so what she did is on the next slide, she took it to a new level here. And this is a little bit of work, but she provided comments for every exercise to the students. And they had that communication going back and forth. And I love the quote down towards the bottom. I have an entire folder of positive quotes from parents regarding smart music. You can't beat that. So she just had incredible communication and dealt with any questions as they came up. On the next one, that led to her principal, who I interviewed. And I'm not sure how your principal at school is. We all had different experiences with administrators, but this administrator really wanted teachers to differentiate their music instruction. They wanted no surprises. They wanted students progressing. And he was one that was all over the progress of how those music students were doing in a very positive way. But this principal needed data. Getting started, best practices. Consider getting started by creating a new SmartMusic test class with just a few students. Demonstrate SmartMusic in the classroom. When practicing with slower tempos, students may need to turn off accompaniment. Assignments have tempo settings, exactly, at least, and any. Students should always listen to their recording. Assessment may be best when using headphones or the accompaniment turned off. If you have questions, first go to the Help button at the bottom right corner of your pages, or go to the Help menu in the bar at the top menu. I'd like to call your attention to the Help buttons and menu. The bottom right corner of the page, you can see there's a blue Help button, and then on this next slide, notice that when you go to the top of the page, in that black bar, there's a Help button as well. If you click on that Help button at the top, it'll take you to a couple spots. You have the Educator Administrator's Help with all the files, the getting started, the management, the tips, and so on. And you also have an option to go for students and hobbyists. This is a great resource for teachers and students.
Yeah, so we wanted to let you know that if you haven't started yet with the new Smart Music, this is the best time for you to give it a try, because teachers can always do trials on Smart Music, but they're typically only with the limited free content. But between April 1st and June 30th, every teacher that is doing a trial, meaning is using Teach Free, will have access to the entire catalog. So you can explore everything that there is available in Smart Music open it up, play it back, create some classes and make assignments and all of that for between April 1st and June 30th. So if you've always wanted to try something before you make the decision to buy it, go ahead and jump in now, because for these 60 days, you have the ability to check out all the content. So at this point, we are getting pretty close to the end of our webinar, and we have answered some of your questions, but we want to make sure that we answer them all. So if you still have remaining questions, go ahead and chat them in. Okay, here's one. If we set the classrooms up, will students have access as well? That's a great question. I would imagine that the answer is yes. Okay, so several more questions are coming in here. Can I show pricing on the website? Yes, I will show pricing on the website in just a second. Will there be a webinar focused on uploading music from Finale? You bet. There will be one. Will SmartMusic Classic be discontinued in the near future or run for a while longer? So we're not going to pull the rug from under your feet. You can be assured of that. It'll be around for a little while longer. I don't know the exact same date, but I'm sure that as we put more resources on developing and making the new web-based smart music better and stronger, when the time comes to discontinue classic smart music, it won't be in the middle of the school year, and you will have plenty of communication about it. Okay, somebody is saying, let me scroll back up because several questions are coming in. Is there a limit to the number of students on the Teach Free? Great question. No, there is no limit to the number of students on Teach Free. So go ahead and enroll them all. So somebody's asking, premium content is free April 1st to June 30th, just to view, listen, or to assign to students also. So that was the same question that was asked before. And the answer is yes to both questions. So both teachers will be able to access and assign all the content. And yes, all the students will be able to receive the assignments and do them. Yeah. All right. Training at makemusic.com. Students will have access to methods and whatever teacher assigns them. So you got it. Go ahead and do your trial now, because there's no better time than now. Thank you very much.